Welcome you into the Pro Edition of Hawksnest here today, and my name is Owen Korando, joined by Justin Trivillon and Marvin Pewitt Jr., and we got a big slate of things here today. First off, we're going to start with baseball, and we're going to start with the AL East. The AL East has 4 out of the 6 top records in the American League standings, and really the team that gets 4th in the AL East is going to get cheated out of a playoff spot. Justin, I mean, you see the Tampa Bays are in first, and they're most likely going to win the division, but you have Boston, New York, and then Toronto all right behind them.
Yeah, I mean, Boston, New York, and Toronto all could possibly get that last wild card spot, but Tampa Bay, it's definitely I'm gonna say they're gonna take the division. But yeah, I mean, somebody's gonna be really upset at the end of the season when they don't get in.
Yeah, and another thing we can look at here is kind of the NL wild card. I mean, the Dodgers have a big lead here in the wild card. I want to say it's 15 games plus right now, but they're only 2 games out of the division behind the Giants. And then you have the Cardinals, who have won 12 in a row today, and you kind of look at that, and they have ran away with that second wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean, this streak has been unbelievable. I think it's their longest one since '04. So I mean, they're definitely I'm gonna say take that second wild card spot. But yeah, you're looking at the Dodgers and Giants. Either one of them could catch the division and run away with it.
Okay, Justin, I got a question for you here. So if you're the Cardinals, who would you rather face in that one-game playoff wild card?
Shoot, I mean, I'm going to want to face the Dodgers only because of Clayton Kershaw's choking ability in the playoffs. You know, he's done that quite a few times these past few years, but just because of that, that's why I'd rather play the Dodgers.
Okay, but I think another thing you can look at too here is if you're the Dodgers is you have Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer, and then Clayton Kershaw is probably your 3 this year, along with you have David Price coming out of the bullpen, and they have a bunch of good arms. So who would you throw in that wild card game if you are the Dodgers?
Shoot, I mean, if I'm on the Dodgers, you got to throw Kershaw. I mean, I know I'm going to contradict myself here and say I know he's had the choking thing the last few seasons, but I mean, he's your best arm. You have to throw him.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you there. I'm going all for it. One-game playoff, give me Max Scherzer. I mean, he's been electric. He's been electric against the Cardinals, and he's making his case for Cy Young this year. And now on to football. So we've had a couple surprise teams start out 2-0 and 3-0, and one of them that started out 3-0 was last night, the Carolina Panthers. They beat the Texans to move to 3-0, and you kind of seen Sam Darnold, as soon as he got away from the Jets, he's looked better this season already. Justin, what do you kind of think about that?
You know, I've always thought Sam Darnold was probably the second best quarterback out of that draft class behind Josh Allen. But, I mean, getting drafted by the Jets, that's kind of a bad luck draw. I mean, they're all professional football teams, but the Jets, let's be honest, aren't quite good enough to really play in the NFL for most people.
And speaking of the Jets, they have Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson, we saw him last week against the Patriots, and he really did not look good in that first half there.
No, I mean, the interceptions are expected. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback playing for the Jets behind that offensive line. So you kind of expect him not to do the best, but I think if they can get an offensive line in front of him through the next couple of drafts, maybe free agency, I think Zach Wilson has the potential to be a pretty decent quarterback.
And Marvin, we'll talk about your Cowboys here. They're 1-1 on the season, and we saw them come out in week 1 against the Buccaneers, and they played electric. I mean, they might have left a little bit too much time on the clock for Tom Brady to drive down the field and win that game, but they come out in week 2, and Greg Zuerlein kicks a game-winning field goal. What are you kind of expecting for them coming into week 3?
Well, I know this may be a long shot, but like all Cowboys fans, I expect them to win the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? We play good against Tom Brady, defending Super Bowl champs. I'm thinking, oh, we going to the Super Bowl and we gonna win this thing. You know what I'm saying? So, my expectations always for the Cowboys is always high, but they disappoint me every year. You know, so it's gonna get to a point in time where, you know, it's gonna be like, man, I'm just gonna have to accept it is what it is. But I'm hoping Super Bowl. You know.
Okay, and speaking of the Cowboys, I think it's kind of important that we mention Zeke and kind of the role that he's played this year, and you've kind of seen him through the first 2 games. He hasn't been able to really get it going on the ground and really not get it going out of the backfield either as a patch catcher. Justin or Marvin, what do you expect to see from him?
I mean, he's Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I expect him to get a little bit better. throughout the season. Maybe have some bad games against my Eagles. That would help me out a little bit. But, I mean, I think Tony Pollard behind Zeke is doing just as good. So, I mean, if he can keep performing well and Zeke can amp up, I think the Cowboys are definitely going to see improvement.
And last thing I want to talk about two teams that have had really good starts this season. I mean, you've seen the Arizona Cardinals, and Kyler Murray's throwing for 400 yards a game, just absolutely airing the ball out. And the Raiders, who've also started 2-0, beating a really good Pittsburgh team last week. And what does that kind of really you guys see from that?
Honestly, I see the Raiders actually giving the Chiefs a run for their money in that division. I feel like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs will get him at the end, but Derek Carr and the Raiders, they're looking pretty decent.
And for the Cardinals, they win that game 34-33 on a missed kick or a missed field goal by the Vikings kicker. And how many times have we seen that?
Too many times for Vikings fans. I mean, they've had some terrible luck with missed field goals here in the past.
And that's all we have for this edition of Hawksnest Pro Sports. Thank you for joining us.